Thank you very much for joining tonight this meeting. I feel very fortunate to be here with you, talking about bird watching, nature, and sharing with you part of our lives, Cynthia and mine, that we want to share these experiences and what Mexico can offer to you about bird watching. So our topic is networking bird watchers and conservation in Mexico by Zinthia, my partner, and myself, Pilar Gonzalez. Next slide. So first of all, we're going to introduce ourselves. So as you Colin already mentioned, I'm a marine biologist, but I'm a nature lover. That's the right word. So my background is on marine biologist, and I've been doing during my end of my college, my first touch with nature was bird watching in Veracruz, where you already know we have one of the largest migrations on the world. And that's the first place I stepped after college. So I was blown out by seeing this for the first time when I was around 23 years old. After that, I've been doing a lot of other things about conservation. I had the opportunity to join other projects in different countries, like the US, in New Mexico. I stayed for an internship also in Costa Rica, Honduras, and other places that teach me a lot of things about birding. And right now, through the last 2 years, I've been doing more focus on tourism that I'm going to talk to you about it. So by working on this tourism area in specifically in different places and with different species, I've been able to experience the degrees of impact that we generate and the importance of doing good ecotourism. That for me, it's like the very, very important thing I've been learning through this time, 2 or 3 years since I started. Next slide. Siguiente. Okay. I don't know who is moving the presentation, but okay, gracias. Thank you very much. So talking about the Veracruz River of Raptors or Veracruz Río de Rapaces, that's my first contact with the nature. Talking about being outside of college and my first internship, because at this point it was very, very nice that this project invite students or just graduated students to join the project for learning. That was very, very important for me and for my development. At this first season, I had the opportunity to see hundreds, millions of birds flying through the Veracruz skies. And I was so impacted, so amazed, because I've never seen something like this before. So for me, it was like little bees flying in the sky. But with the binoculars, at some point, I was able to differentiate the shape, the colors, and later on to know who were who. Different species, different birds, a lot of raptors, and also to have the chance to meet a lot of people that has already been on this project for several years, because it's a project that is being running for over right now around 30 years, if I'm not wrong. So people that has for that moment that I started in 2010, they've been there for already for 10 years at that moment. So they had a lot of experience, or maybe 15 years at that moment, and they were very young, no? So these people actually, like the ones that you can see in the other picture right next to me, young people from the local communities, actually they were teaching us, the new students, the people that that we were invited as an interns. They used to teach us how to identify the birds, how to use our binoculars, how to scan the sky, everything, and also to have the opportunity to have some lessons, like real lessons after the bird watching, attending the tourism. So we used to cover different areas of the project. So that was my first season, and after that I continued to for 8 more seasons, and I started like developing more knowledge about how to identify the birds and start counting them. First of all, I was an assistant. So, the counters tell you the numbers and you have to write them down. And sometimes you have hundreds, thousands of birds in the skies, and you also need to start counting because you have the mix of the aquatic birds and the raptors and the passerines, and you may probably know a little bit about this. If the skies get crazy, right? So you don't know at what moment it's going to happen, but it is a project or an natural um, phenomenon that allows you to see millions of birds and 4 millions in 4 months. So if you have a lucky day, probably you will see 1 million in a day. So something like that, or maybe a couple of hundreds of thousands. So for me, Veracruz River of Raptors was my main school. And after that, I could start joining to other projects because you get so inspired of other people that talk to you about like Hog Mountain in the United States or Central America, the Costa Rica Bird Observatory, in my case, Honduras, other places. So I was very, very, at that moment, I wanted to go and to eat the whole world about the birds, right? So, siguiente. Gracias. So here we can see, as you know, that the importance of Veracruz, if we can see here in the map of the migratory birds that come from United States and Canada, when they come through Mexico, actually Veracruz is the Gulf of Mexico, in the side of the Gulf of Mexico, and with the high mountains of the Sierra Madre and the ocean of the Gulf of Mexico, it creates a bottleneck. That means that the whole birds from the north needs to come through these bottlenecks when they come during the fall. That's why the geography of our continent allowed us to see this impact phenomenon. So when they come through Veracruz, in this place where you say before Chichicaxle, where they start noticing that we can see thousands of birds, the researchers at that moment decide to develop project, and they put 2 different sites of observation, counting observatory. So nowadays there is an observatory to observe and watch the birds that has the whole infrastructure to go. And also we are in the central coast of Mexico, so the high mountains allowed us to see them even closer, like you can see in the video. We can go up high in the mountains and we can see all the birds like very, very close to our eye level. That's very, very impressive. And part of the things that Cynthia is gonna mention you later is that all of these mountains right now are very, very important for the conservation of the raptors, because as you know, they're diurnal birds, so they need to rest during the night. So part of this project that is been running for over 30 years is to keep these mountains as much as possible so we can keep the nature over here so the birds can rest during the migration. So this was my first closeness with nature and with birds. And siguiente, por favor, Cindy. I hope you're understanding well my English because yeah, okay. Thank you. So another part of this project of the Veracruz River of Raptors, it also includes the banding station, right? As you know, there's a lot of banding stations in Canada and the US, but this is the only one banding station for Mexico. So all this data that is being collected for over 20 years, it's very, very important for the conservation of the raptors. So this banding station is usually located more close to the shore. There used to be two banding stations, one close to the shore and another one up high in the mountains. And it used to get different species of raptors. As you know, the four main species that we can get to see during this migration are the broadwing hawks, the Swainson's hawks, the turkey vultures, and the Mississippi kites. So Mississippi kites come first, and after that we have a lot of broadwings, and after that a lot of Swainsons, and Swainsons and broadwing mix with the turkey vultures. So turkey vultures make the thickness of the migration, but depending on where the bird banding stations are, there's able to be the ones that are close to the shore get more accipiters, a lot of Cooper's hawks, Sharpshin hawks, and the banding station that is on the high mountains get red tails, peregrine falcons, and other bigger raptors. So this is one of the very, very main important areas or projects of this Veracruz River of Raptors project. So as you can see, the main thing is to catch the raptor, to ban the raptors, and to release it as soon as possible. But sometimes, nowadays, small groups and control groups that come during the whole season are able, with special permits, to come to see this part of the project, because in the past it used to be open to the whole public, and nowadays it's more limited to special persons and smaller groups. Siguiente, Cindy. Okay, gracias. So another part of my development after being in the Veracruz River Raptors was an invitation of a friend that it's girl. She's called Esther, and she's doing the bird watching, the raptors migration counting in the southest point of America, that is Colombia. And her project is called Tropicos Colombia. And she came to Veracruz to get to learn more about the bird watching, bird identification. And she decided to start working more in a network of bird watching for the raptors. So she brought to her own country the same project to have the southest point of bird watching. So we can be able to have a whole net of bird watchings through United States, Canada, Mexico, Central America, other points in Costa Rica, Panama, and the southest one in Colombia. So she is actually also a very inspiring person and girl and women, because now she's running this project for maybe for 5 years, I think, more or less. She's been doing this the boat seasons through spring and in fall. And she also invite a lot of partners from Veracruz, including myself, to join her project and to bring part of our knowledge to this other part of the project. So Birdwatchers from Mexico, like this group that you can see here in the picture, this is a group of photographers. They come every year to the Veracruz River Raptors, and they already had the opportunity to join and do bird watching in Colombia too. So Mexicans also are traveling to do bird watching, and like foreigners as you. So that's actually very, very encouraging because it brings more development to the projects and more conservation as well. Siguiente. And right now, as I told you before, that I'm more focused on the tourism. I've been doing a little bit more of marine mammals like whales and dolphins right now in Puerto Vallarta, Jalisco, where I'm living. I arrived last year to Puerto Vallarta to do whale watching tours. So humpback whales arrive every year during their migration to Mexico, as you know, as their breeding grounds. So humpback whales are Mexicans, some of them. So we receive a lot of humpbacks. I've been working with an ecotourism company, small company from a biologist, that also her main goal is to share education, conservation, and research at the same time. And this also bring a huge economy revenue to the state, similar as the one that I don't know if you have heard about Cancun with the whale sharks, right? So I had the opportunity also to be in Cancun working with the swimming with the whale sharks, and right now working with the whale watching in Puerto Vallarta. So what I want to share with you with these experiences is, one is very, very impact, and the other one is trying to do the things better about ecotourism. So at some point, ecotourism can be very, very impact for the species. That's a very important thing that we really value, because if we do the right things during ecotourism, we are going to really help the community, the local people, but also the species that are living in this area or that are arriving to this area. So for me, for introducing myself, it's everything for now. It's just so you can understand a little bit what's being my background and what I'm doing, so you can get to know me better. Thank you. Gracias, Cindy.
Okay, thank you so much, Billy. Now it's my turn. Hi, everyone. My name is Zinthia Lopez. I am a biologist, and I have a master in science in development, sustainability, and tourism. I start birding in 2015 in Michoacan. Michoacan is my home state, and I have worked in some projects with education, conservation, and tourism components. So I'm going to talking what parts of this project impact on me and how is working now for develop tours for other persons. So I met Billy in Veracruz River of Raptors. We were in different seasons. but I met Billy because she is maybe one of the most important biologists in the project, because she is maybe every year and other times every 2 years. So she is always working with Pronatura. And I was in Veracruz River of Raptors in 2017. I was hired like environmental education assistant. So my responsibilities were to teach the kids of Chichicastle about the migration, the raptors, and other environmental issues. So for me, this was maybe the most important and clarify project, because I discovered I was working in a new world for me. I am from Michoacan. This is other state, and maybe 2 or 3 years before to go to Veracruz, I didn't know nothing about this project. So for me, it was a revelation for two reasons. First, I can watch the phenomenon, the amazing migration in Veracruz. I was in love for raptors at the first season. And then I can learn a lot about how the no-profit organization and other companies or business could have a very nice impact in the communities. For me, it was amazing when I know that Pronatura Veracruz, this is the no-profit organization who management the River of Raptors project, and Pronatura Veracruz has a very nice project with landowners. They visit every year the landowners and ask if they want to have a natural preserve area, and private natural preserve area in their lands. So this project is not only focused in the migration, the monitoring, the banding station. They also want to. They also are very focused in education and promoting the conservation between landowners in all the central coast in Veracruz. So at the same time, in this project, I have the opportunity to meet Aurelio. Aurelio is a landowner. He was born in a small community near Chichicastle, and he started to watch the migration when he was working with his dad in the land. So for him, it was a very nice experience. And some years later, he decided to convert the land in a private preserved area. He works a lot every day for looking for opportunities for his land, because at the end he needs to feed his family. He needs money for his family, but he decided looking for other options for both goals. He wants to conserve the land, but at the same time he has other necessities. So I'm going to talking about a little more about Aurelio later. Okay. And then in 2019, I come to San Pancho. San Pancho is a little town in Nayarit, very close to Puerto Vallarta, and San Pancho has a bird observatory. For me, this was the first job when I saw how the tourism can impact in the community. San Pancho Bird Observatory has a very nice program, and it includes tourism and monitoring and education and work with the community. So for me, this experience opened my mind because I start to think maybe I can do something to help the conservation in Mexico. Maybe it's not too hard. Maybe I can do that. Maybe I have the tools for development some issues with tourism and birds and communities. So at the same time, when I was working in San Pancho Bird Observatory, I met to Selene. Selene is this girl just here. And Selene is a biologist from Michoacan. And we met in Puerto Vallarta, so very, very weird. So Selene is working in a no-profit organization in Puerto Vallarta, and they are this word is very difficult for me. Rehabit macaws, militaris macaws in a center. They receive militaris macaws with damage, with a lot of injuries, with problems with the food that they are eating, and they have a process. And then a lot of months of years, then they have a process near to Puerto Vallarta in Sanctuary Las Guacamayas, or Santuario de las Guacamayas. This project is amazing because they have a nest box. They put the militaris macaw, when the militaris macaw have a parnet, they put together and they start to rehabit. Rehat the militaris macaw, sorry. And then they also have a sanctuary when the macaws can have food at the beginning and start to be more free in the space. So this is an amazing job for me because they at the beginning start with very bad situations with the macaws, and then they can look the transformation for the reality for these birds. So it's amazing. And then in 2019, at the same time, I start to collaborate with a group called Amacilias. Amacilias is a networking of Mexican women birdwatchers, and we have a lot of members in all Mexico, and we have some activities in the communities. For me, this was other big challenge because we are volunteers in it network, so we work a lot in our normal jobs, and then when we are resting, we decide to something else. So in this group, Amacilias, I have the opportunity to meet other very important groups in Mexico, like Colectivo Chalchihuitlicue. This word is very difficult even for me. So this collective, this group of persons work together um, for put focus in a national preserved area near to Mexico City. So they work a lot with the community for uh, for the for put the focus in this area. And the other group, very important for me, is La Charas. La Charas is, they are a community monitors. They are all women, and they start to monitoring the birds in Mazatlan, Mexico. And now they want to have their own business about bird watching in the area. For they, this is a big challenge because these women were born in a small, very small community, and they didn't have access to education and other ways to be close with other alternatives. So for her, for they, is a big thing, start a company in bird watching tourism. So all these ideas, all this experience in Pili and me start to make something in us. And we start with a small project. At the beginning, we had bird watching tours only in the local area, for me, Nayarit and Puerto Vallarta. And then we start with expeditions. Like both know very nice Veracruz, we decide to do an expedition in Veracruz together, and we are working a lot for use the experience that we had in the past and put all together in a very nice and very conscious tour for the next year. But I'm not going to talking about the tour. I'm going to talking about the context. How is Mexico? Mexico is a biodiverse country. In the world, only 11 countries have 70% of the global species diversity. These countries are called mega diverse. So Mexico is the 5th place in the world, like a mega diverse country. This is a very important thing because we have a lot of biodiversity and we have a lot of resources that we can use, not in a extractive way. We can use only watching. So Mexico is the 11th place in birds in the world, but we have some problems. The species have a lot of problems. Mexico has 5% of natural ecosystems, and a lot of our species have problems. We have a law. This is called NOM 059, and in this law we have all the species who has a endangered to disappear. So if I don't know if you know, but in Mexico we have 1,200 species of birds, and and two and 392 is in the red list. They are endangered. So this is a big challenge for the conservation in Mexico, and it's not only the birds, all the species, plants, fish, mammals are endangered. So the conservation in Mexico start too late. I don't know if you know which or when was formed the first national park in Canada. In Mexico, the first was in 1970, and this is Desierto de los Leones. Is in the picture. This big area was declared national park, and now we have 184 natural protected areas. But like I say, it's not enough. This map shows in green the federal natural protected areas. But then in 1996, the Mexican law invite other persons to form action to form areas for the preservation of ecosystem and the biodiversity. Some person say, yes, I want to form my own preserved area. And the first voluntary conservation area, called ADVC for spelling in Spanish, is área destinada voluntariamente a la conservación, was certified in 2002. Now Mexico has 550 552 voluntary conservation areas. Sorry, I am a little nervous. So these areas are very important for the conservation in Mexico. But if you see the map, maybe it's not enough. We have a big land, and the degradation out to the preserved areas is hard every day. And even in the national protected areas, they have very difficult a lot. So the strategy for the conservation in Mexico is basically two things: protection, sustainable use or recovery of ecosystem through natural protected areas, ANP or ADVC, or protect projects with action aimed the protection and recovery of species. Like this, Mexico, the first project in this category was about the golden eagle, okay? And an example about the natural protected area is Chocotitla. I talked in the past about Aurelio. Aurelio is the owner of this natural preserved area, and they work a lot for the conservation. But the conservation has a lot of challenge. The vast majority of the AMPs have budget limited to administrative functions. There are no people developing activities for sustainable use, monitoring, research, or education. The natural preserved areas are frequently invaded by poachers, organized crime groups, and people who invade the territory to build illegally. Many of the owners of the voluntary areas are people of communities and they have all the intention to support the conservation, but they don't have the knowledge about how development projects or seek funding. There is not a governmental support or advice for development alternatives activities on the land. So these are very big challenge for the conservation. And the question could be, can the bird watching tourism be an alternative to solve some of the problems that natural areas face? And we think yes. Billy is going to talking about our potential like country. Your Billy, you are on mute.
Sorry, thank you. That was a good presentation, Cynthia. Thank you very much. So what we think about tourism potential is that, of course, bringing tourism to our country as a very biodiversity place, as Cynthia already mentioned. It will bring bird watching, and also bird watchers can bring a lot of potential of eyes to be around different places that are already natural protected areas. A lot of development on these little towns also, but it's not all about money, right? Because of course, bringing foraging tourism brings development, but also bring a lot of other things. Also, new bird watchers in these little towns, local guides, and also that the money can stay on these little communities, places like where to sleep, hotels, or little places to sleep, where we also eat, little restaurants. So the economy can run around these little areas. That's actually what the potential, and bringing a little bit more protection to these places. As we say before, bird watching can bring more opportunities for the conservation of the birds. That's why we think it's yes. Siguiente. So bird watchers and their economy review is that, right? So we estimate that around 65 million bird watchers in the United States and Canada come to Mexico every year. So this is going to be around 40 million Canada US of money. That's a lot of economy for our country, of course. But the big challenge is to get the economy to spill over to the landowners and to the communities as much as of the money now goes back to the private company abroad. That means that most of the time that the foreigners that come to Mexico, they usually hire big companies for their tours or for other activities, and the money didn't go or doesn't go to the local areas. They come back to the big companies, and that doesn't allow the local communities can continue growing and keeping that money in that place. Yes. Siguiente. So if we talk about our biodiversity, as Cynthia already mentioned, Mexico is very, very, very rich on biodiversity. Talking about birds, we are in the top 10. So we have around more than 1,000 different species of birds and more than 100 endemic birds. So that means that we are in one of the richest places of the world in biodiversity. I'm just talking about birds, okay? Siguiente. So what about the endemic birds? We all want to see new species, so that's part of the show. We want to go bird watching and look for the ones that we cannot see anywhere else, right? So if we talk about the two different areas that we are focused on, in this case, Veracruz, we're going to see a huge amount of birds. That means that that's an impact phenomenon that we can be able to see only here, in this case in Mexico, in this part of Veracruz. But also Veracruz includes other endemic birds, like for example, we have here two examples, one hummingbird that is the Mexican sheartail, and a dove that is the Tuxtla quail dove. So these two birds are endemic of the area of Veracruz. And Veracruz is not one of the highest number of endemic species on our country. We have other states that are more important for endemic birds. But just look at this. We can include hummingbirds, doves, trogons, flycatchers, other different kind of groups of birds that are in the endemic species. So we always want to go for the lifers. That's a good goal for this because we have two very main places where we can find lifers. Siguiente. And here we have the list, very exactly list of the states where we can actually find and how many endemic birds we can find on each place. So for example, just to say something, in first place we have Oaxaca with 57 different endemic birds. That is quite a lot. And you can see here in the map, in the southeast area are actually the most important states on Mexico for the endemic birds. So we have Veracruz in the other side on the Gulf of Mexico. And if you can see this area of Mexico a little bit joins together. And if you go down to Veracruz, we're gonna find Oaxaca. That it's in the first place of the endemics with the 57 different endemic species. And after we can find Guerrero, and after we can see Jalisco. So Jalisco or Bahía de Banderas, where we are from or where we are living right now, where we want to bring you to observe the birds during this tour. It's one of the first places, and over there's around 52 different endemic species. So this area, the southeast area or the west area of Mexico, it's more rich and it's very different, all the environment. It's not just about the birds. Also, it's part of developing, as I said before, new bird watchers. By bringing bird watching to Mexico, these areas can develop more ecotourism and the local persons can learn how to conserve their places because this has a lot of very small communities on these places. Oaxaca, Guerrero, Michoacán, Jalisco, Nayarit, this where we can see the red points, are very kind of small states and they have little small towns, and development of the country is not as much as in other bigger states of our country. So this area, talking about conservation, they are still less impact than other states in our country. So that means that if we have the main number of endemic species in these places and we come with bird watchers, we're going to be able to help the conservation of the little places that we have over here. So that's actually one of our main goals, to promote bird watching and create guides so the local people can learn how to do bird watching. They can find an alternative, as Aurelio in Veracruz with her protected area as a landowner. People have a big lands over here, but sometimes they change it to cattle or they start growing different kind of monocultives or seed of corn or sugar cane, or they change their habitats to do another kind of development. So we really want to teach or to share part of our knowledge so people can find an alternative and finding on tourism that they can bring economy to their little small towns. So promote Mexico abroad as a biodiverse country in species of birds. Will bring more conservation to our country. La siguiente, Cynthia. So our professional experiences had an impact on our goals as a tourism company. So Cynthia and I want to promote bird watching in Mexico in our small communities and also invite more people to learn how to conserve and to enjoy the wildlife. Listo, Cynthia.
Thank you, Billy. Thank you. And we have we start to have some benefits for the communities. We can have benefits in the economic plan, economic in the economic. So we have contribution with the natural areas. We also donated 5% for the local owners and all the projects. And we also have a 10% for other projects that support other groups in Mexico. For example, La Charas in Mazatlan, we don't have a tour in Mazatlan, Mexico, but we want to support La Charas because this group are working a lot and they are having the steps for have a very nice company. Sometimes we have other tools. We can speak English a little bit and we can connect with other kind of persons. So for a woman who was born in a very small and poor community in some place in Mexico, is uh, very difficult thing in how she can do something different in her community. But for us, it's too easy. So it's very nice be in contact with this kind of groups. Other way that we are helping is creating local experience with local guides. For example, in this picture was about were taken the last year, and this little and young man is I forgot the Axel, and she is a young biologist who was born in Veracruz, and he has all the passion, all the tools, but he needs an opportunity. So we are there. And the other thing is we are promoting economic spillover with local producer and entrepreneurs. For example, restaurants, hotels, cafes, and others. And we advisoring landowners and other local person for support and development capacities for because we want that they have the ability for development their own tools for have an impact, positive impact in the ecosystem. Oh, so what do you want to know more about the river raptors? This question is because Colin told me that he is very excited about this project. So we're going to have a very nice talk with the British Columbia Field Ornithologist Group in February 21st. So if you want to join us, you are welcome. I don't know how we can share you the information, but for sure Timothy knows. So any question? I only want to say only I think, and before to end, we are working with Timothy of Safari. Sorry, I'm going to show the logo. For this tour, we are working with Jackson African Safaris for the next tour in 2044 because we want to have more, we want to have feedback. He is a very experimented guide in other country. Maybe South Africa is a little like Mexico, and maybe his experience will support our tour for sure. And we are so happy because he is give us feedback every step, and our experience had a very nice um, impact in our decision too. So that's all. If you have any question, please. Billy is very happy to answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, both of you. They're wonderful presentations for an area that I know almost nothing about. One of the things that we did look into when we were trying to organize the Veracruz River of Raptors trip back in 2020, just before COVID hit. One of the things that we were hoping to look at down there was a bird-friendly coffee plantation. And I don't know if you've had any involvement with the bird-friendly coffee plantations that are monitored by the Smithsonian Institute. Have you had any collaboration with bird-friendly coffee farmers, Zinthia and Pilar?
We're going to start a collaboration with a coffee plantation this year, but it will be not in Veracruz. It will be here in Nayarit. In the town is Compostela. The name is Compostela. We're going to start this year. Yes.
Yeah, because apparently that has the greatest benefit to provides the greatest amount of income to the farmers, which is what was of interest to us, which is, closely resembles what you're trying to do to bring money into the local economy. And we've been in touch with the Smithsonian Institute and seeing the good work that they do in various places of the world, including Mexico and a couple of the Central American countries as well. And that's, I mean, to me personally, other people can chime in, but to me personally, that would be something that would be of great interest on a birding trip to Mexico, no matter which state of Mexico it's in, is to actually visit a bird-friendly coffee farmer and talk to them, probably have you translate, obviously. But to me personally, that means a lot, to bring more money to the producer, to the farmer, rather than have the middleman, from there to Canada, get all the money. I want to see the money get to the farmer. So that's, anyway, I'm probably repeating myself, but to me, that's a passion I'd like to help with.
Yes, thank you, Colin. Yes, we are actually going to work with this farmer, And it's very, for me, I don't know a lot about the coffee plantation in Veracruz because I was living in Veracruz only around to 1 year. But here in Nayarit, it's very amazing because the coffee plantation are very connected with the indigenous people. So every year, the indigenous people come in from the mountains and down a little more close to the coast and work in the coffee plantation for 6 months. And they have actually a house in the plantation. So this for me is very interesting, the dynamic with the communities and the indigenous people and how all the families travel together for work in the farmers. They have a very nice relationship with the land, with the plants, and with the all the process for the coffee.
Oh, good. So when you tour people, when you're the tour guides there, do you normally take people to coffee plantations, or is that something new, did you say?
No, we're going to start to work with the owners of this coffee plantation. They usually are the guys, yes.
Yeah.
But yes, for birds, well, we are the expert
Yeah.
but for the coffee and the how to walk in the mountain, they are the experts.
And it's not only a benefit, an economic benefit to the farmers, because bird-friendly coffee pays more than regular coffee. Bird-friendly certified coffee, I should say, which is monitored by the Smithsonian Institute. But it's also good for birders because the variety of habitat, high vegetation and low vegetation that they get in the bird-friendly coffee plantations has a greater variety of birds as well. So it's good for birders and it's good for the farmers. So
Yes, yes. And birding in a coffee plantation is amazing. For me, the first time that I was there was like, whoa, what is that? It's
that's what I've
amazing.
heard. That's what I've heard. Yeah. We
Yes,
want that woo too.
yes, 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 yes. You don't know where tree you need to watch. We have a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
And the reach is amazing. We have more birds in the coffee plantation than in other ecosystem in the coast of Nayarit or other areas.